Hey everybody, my name is Phillip Shepard. I'm a local real estate agent located right here in Northwest Arkansas. And today we're talking about what are some of the best podcasts to listen to when you're thinking about moving down to Northwest Arkansas. So let's talk about that. But before we begin, if you could like this video and also subscribe, that would make the world of difference. I try to produce as much content as humanly possible about Northwest Arkansas. Obviously. Also, if you are thinking about coming down to Northwest Arkansas, I made something called the NWA Starter Pack. It sounds exactly what it is. It's a starter pack for Northwest Arkansas. So maybe you're thinking about what are the schools like? What are the hospitals like? What are all the cool things to do here? What are the cities like? All the maps, all the things you need about Northwest Arkansas packaged up in this nice little package. And guess what? It's shipped right to your home. So enter your information below, name, address, where can I ship this amazing package to? Where is it going to go to? Just let me know. Also, a little side note, it does come with your first free mountain bike, so that's pretty cool. Haha. Also, just a little side note, it is my favorite 4-letter F word. Free! So enter your address below and I'll make sure to get that package shipped to you right away. And the first podcast we need to talk about is the Bentonville Beacon podcast. So this is actually put on by the Bentonville Chamber, and it is, I would consider, one of the most top tier podcast in America when it comes to chamber production. Like, they go way out. They bring in some amazing talent of really high producers, business owners, people that are local to the Bentonville area that are just doing so many amazing things around Bentonville itself. So they've had people on aviation, startups, they've had obviously investment funds, they've had locals that have just moved here that are starting up new businesses, or people that are involved in nonprofits. So they cover all the bases when it comes to Bentonville. The quality is on par, the audio is on par, and not only is it just a podcast, an audio podcast, but there's actually a YouTube channel dedicated as well. And maybe that's why I'm a little more biased to it, because obvious reasons. But the Bentonville Beacon podcast does a great job. So if you want to know kind of really the deep structure of Bentonville and all the really cool things that are happening here and just get some really cool guests in there, definitely check out the Beacon podcast. Well worth your time. All these links will be put below so you can kind of discover them. Some of them will only be just audio and some of them will be video, but most of them are video. They have both but some of them are experienced better on the actual audio form. So just kind of heads up there, but the Bentonville Beacon podcast, I would prefer to watch it because their video production is so well, but they do have an audio version of podcast as well. So if you want to know more about like the business side and more of the inner structures of Bentonville, definitely check out the Bentonville Beacon podcast. Well worth your time. And the second podcast you definitely need to know about is literally called I Am Northwest Arkansas, I Am NWA. It is probably the longest running podcast in NWA, Northwest Arkansas specifically. It's hosted by Randy, and he has a variety of guests. We're talking all the way from anyone like even some actors to songwriters to news people to all these nonprofits to business owners. It runs the gamut when it comes to people around Northwest Arkansas. So he brings all the people in. So it covers culture, it covers everything. So Randy has done such a good job of just kind of keeping a blend of keeping trendy things going for Northwest Arkansas when it comes to the podcasting scene. So definitely check out that link below. It is a very, I would say, a broad thing, not a bad thing, just a broad podcast and well worth knowing more about if you are thinking about making the trip down to Northwest Arkansas. Whoa, before we jump on to the next point, I have something brand new called Instant Home Updates. So maybe you're looking to move down to Northwest Arkansas and you're using things like Realtor.com or Zillow.com. Way too slow. Notifications, way too slow. So I made something called Instant Home Updates. It sounds exactly what it is. It's Instant Home Updates. So enter your information below. Obviously, your name. What are you looking for? Square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, some specific things you're looking for. And I'll make sure you don't miss a single notification when it comes to rentals or homes in all of Northwest Arkansas. Also, every single Friday I send an email just kind of talking about all things Northwest Arkansas. So if you want to keep it updated with what's going on here, because there's so much going on here. So if you want to keep up what musicians are coming here, what new roads are being installed to make everything so much easier to move around, what obviously new businesses are coming here, what new chain is coming here, what is it, Texas State Brazil. So if you want to keep with all the cool things that are happening in Northwest Arkansas, enter your email below and I'll make sure to get that email sent out to you every single Friday. Side note, you might get a little fear of missing out, a little FOMO, because obviously you're going to see all the cool things that are happening here. Sorry, not sorry. But I'll make sure you're the most informed person eventually when you make your way down to Northwest Arkansas. And the third podcast you need to know about is called The New American Town, and that's actually based, again, in Bentonville. And so they do such a good job of focusing on, I would consider, more business, local business than anything. So they cover things like the Witching Hour, which is a great, obviously, like a thing I've reviewed on my channel itself. Great burger place. Definitely check them out. Fade and Field, things on the Foreman Festival. They cover all things Oz trails. And so they cover just a lot of people in general, especially when it comes to either the nonprofit or business scene. They don't have as many podcasts as the Bentonville Beacon does, but they definitely have a very good selection of just information when it comes to Bentonville specifically. So definitely check out that podcast called The New American Town. All the links are below. And last but certainly not least, before the bonus round, so stay tuned for that. Last but certainly not least is the Downtown Bentonville YouTube channel. So this is technically not a podcast per se, but this is I would consider a very, very well put together media production system, media style on YouTube. So they go ahead and make all the production for downtown Bentonville. So they cover things, obviously they're in charge of First Fridays, they're in charge of the actual farmers market. All the events that happen downtown Bentonville, they are in charge of that, and they do high quality production. Their newest video was just all about the actual downtown parade of Bentonville. Well worth checking out. But they do such good videos when it comes to all things Bentonville. They've covered, obviously, the Waltons have been on there. Obviously, Fiction of Fabulous has been on there. Jenny and Dave Mars has been on there. So they cover a lot of different people around Bentonville. But the thing is that this most fascinating is they're very good interviewers. Like, for instance, the previous Governor Hutchinson was on there a couple podcasts ago. So they have just a lot of people, but their production quality is just top tier. Well worth checking out. Again, all the links are below, so definitely subscribe and also check them out. All right, so let's do bonus round, my favorite round, of course, and we only have one for this time. But the last one we need to talk about is the Startup Junkie podcast in Fayetteville. So the Startup Junkie is, I would consider, they are definitely a startup podcast. They bring in a bunch of people, a lot of people from around the area, but a lot of also guests not from NWA. So they didn't want to make the cut when it came to strictly NWA stuff, but a lot of the businesses, a lot of startups that are through Startup Junkie and all the startups around the area have been on the podcast. So I wanted to make sure they are included, but definitely part of the bonus round, which is the best round. But also, it's one of those things where if you are interested in startup culture, if you're interested in business, even if you're maybe a little bit later in life and you're thinking about starting a business, definitely check out the Startup Junkie podcast, because it's just an overall good podcast when it comes to business. And it's such a variety of things. They don't focus just strictly on software. They do such a variety of things when it comes to the startup scene, if you want to call it that. And so you get a lot of different perspectives. So definitely scroll through all the different podcasts they have. Maybe pick out a couple. And there are definitely a couple slipped in there when it comes to Northwest Arkansas specifically. And it's definitely worth checking out and adding to your podcast list. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Again, if you are thinking about coming down to Northwest Arkansas, download my 3-day itinerary link below. Maybe you're an adventurer, maybe you're a sports person, maybe you're a foodie, maybe you're a sightseer, maybe you have kids. There's a 3-day itinerary link down below for you. So go ahead and download it, use it when you get down here. Also, when you do come down here, I can give you the $10 tour, so we can do it Bentonville, Bella Vista, Rogers, Fayetteville, Springdale, the whole thing. Plus, we can check out some homes for sale or for rent and see how far your dollar would go in Northwest Arkansas compared to where you're coming from. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.